Maybe it's the voice.
Maybe that means it's on speaker view. Because then whoever talks, it will pop up to their...
Should be on gallery view. Good afternoon, anybody that is out there. We are just working through some technical issues, but we will be with you shortly to start this webinar. This is Kim. We're still working through some technical difficulties. Please bear with us for a few more moments. Can everybody see the PowerPoint? If somebody can type that in for me, that'd be great. Okay, can you guys see both me and the interpreter now? All right, awesome. So we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. My name is Kim Gibson. I'm the Executive Director of Disability Link and your April Vice President of the board and the facilitator of the call today. Thank you for joining us for this workshop, AT, Assistive Technology, for Independence at Mealtimes and Medication Management. Danny Housley will be the presenter. We also have with us our CART, who is Claudette, our interpreter, who is Marcella, and our host, who is Jamie. I want to mention a few housekeeping items before we get started today. First, when you scroll over the screen, a menu bar pops up. Depending on what device you are on, you can find that menu bar at the top or at the bottom of the screen. There is where you will find the closed captioning for today's session. You can also view the captioning by selecting the CC tab on the menu bar. Stream text is also available for today's call. You can find that in the conference website connection instructions for this session. For sign language interpreting, you can find the interpreter on the screen. To join into the chat, please find the word bubble in the same menu bar. Once that is selected, that will allow you to follow along with the chat or add in your comments. For Q&A times, please note the Q&A box on the menu bar. Now, I really want to emphasize to you to please submit your questions there in the Q&A as they get lost in the chat. Okay, so it's very important to do the Q&A in that menu bar, in the Q&A chat. It's saying, can we still see the interpreter? And people are saying no. Can anybody see the interpreter? Okay, I did get a confirmation that people can see the interpreter. All right. All right, to ask a question or make a comment, you can also select the hand option on the menu, and that allows us to know you have a question. For those of you on the phone today or using keystrokes, we ask that you press *9 on your keypad to raise your hand. We will then let you know when to unmute. Remember, if you join into the conversation, please keep all background noise down as much as possible to allow us to hear you clearly. Emily, I'm going to have the host send you some instructions for how to be able to see the ASL sign language. Okay, so without further ado, Danny Housley.
All right, good afternoon / morning, depending on where you are. I am Danny Housley, and I am happy to be with you today. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, and I work for a group called Tools for Life. We're the Assistive Technology Act program for the state. I also have the pleasure of being the board chair for Disability Link, the Center for Independent Living that serves the Metro Atlanta area, where I work with Kim pretty closely on a lot of different things. And I'm glad that she's my bouncer for this session. All right. So Tools for Life is part of a larger group called the Center for Inclusive Design and Innovation. We're located at the Georgia Institute of Technology, or Georgia Tech, as most people know it. Within the Center for Inclusive Design and Innovation, we offer a number of resources for people centered around accessibility. We work with companies, nonprofits, and individuals and school systems to provide some of these services. So our units are, we do accessibility consulting, and that can be looking at organizational accessibility needs, providing technical assistance, looking at both your physical environment, so you know, a physical office or a classroom, as well as your virtual environment. So looking at things like websites, platforms like Zoom or Blackboard Collaborate for doing virtual sessions, we can assess those environments. We also provide Braille services. So we do customized projects for any print-related materials. We also do tactile graphics. Live remote captioning services, kind of like we're using here for April, where we have a person that's working remotely, providing captions for events or classes. We also do e-text production, so making sure that there's high quality e-text that can be read as a sound file, or it can be magnified, or it can be used with a screen reader. And then finally, we have our certified assistive technology team, and that is Tools for Life. Tools for Life, like I said, it is the Assistive Technology Act program for the state of Georgia. And we have two big parts to our mission. We're here to provide access to assistive technology and acquisition of assistive technology, or AT, as I'll be referring to it throughout the presentation. We want to provide that for all Georgians of all ages, all disabilities, and in all parts of the state, so that they can live, learn, work, and play independently and with greater freedom in the communities of their choice. And there's an image here to the right that is actually me holding my white cane. Happy White Cane Safety Day, everyone. And I'm using a device called the eSight. I use this image to show the importance of a big part of our mission is try before you buy. We want to make sure that people know what options are out there and have a chance to actually get to use them. This is a device called the eSight, and it did not work well for me. Shortly after this picture was taken, I had to go sit in the dark because I was so disoriented from using it. The eSight is video magnification, and we learned after that that head-based video magnifiers do not work well for everyone. So again, we're there to help people learn and to explore the options that are available to them. And every state and territory has an AT Act, an Assistive Technology Act. So if you want help finding yours, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. But it's a good resource, and I encourage you, if you're not familiar with your state's Assistive Technology Act program, to reach out, because there's a lot of ways that independent living and AT can work together. So one of the things that we often say
Annie,
when we...
So I'm sorry, I had a question that was really specific to what you just said, so I just wanted to make sure that they got that answered. This is Kim. Ruth asked, is this only for Georgia residents, or do you guys work with other agencies, SEALs out of the state, perhaps California? Smiley face.
Okay. Well, we have a lot of programs that do work across the country. Tools for Life is primarily for Georgia, but we do have programs on assistive technology reuse that do span the country, and we have partners all around. So definitely reach out, and I can work with you directly, or I can help you find the right resource in your state. All right. So something that we often say when we're working with somebody to explore what technology options are going to work well for them are to begin with the end in mind. And there's an image here of a little stick figure who is getting ready to walk across a bridge made of puzzle pieces, and he's holding that one piece. And at the end of the bridge is the word goal. So we want to always work with an individual. We never dictate what somebody needs to use. Needs, I'm going to put air quotes on needs, or what they have to use. It's all situational, and it's all dependent on the individual and what they want to accomplish. So, so we always want to begin with that end in mind. What is the goal you want to work towards, and what are the tools that are going to help you get to that goal? And I do have a quote up here from one of my favorite quotes. It's a Judy Heumann. So independent living is not doing things by yourself. It's being in control of how things are done. This one, it really resonated with this topic, with independence at mealtimes. So, you know, some people want to be able to feed themselves independently without assistance. But it really is a matter of, you know, you being in control of what the assistance is you're using to eat independently. Just because somebody is helping you eat, like an attendant, does not mean that you're not doing it independently. You're in control. So the question here is, how do you eat? And I have 4 images up here. In the upper left-hand corner is a weighted spoon. In the upper right-hand corner is like a cafeteria, like a school cafeteria tray. So it's got little compartments with different foods in it, like rice and a salad. In the lower left-hand corner, we have a variety of adapted flatware and some plates and a cup. And then in the lower right-hand corner, we have a plate with an automated feeder. So all of these are important options. All of these are solutions that an individual can take advantage of to eat, to get the food from the plate into their mouth. So we're going to explore a lot of these from the low-tech to the high-tech solutions. And I do encourage you, as we go through, if you do have a question about a device or a solution, feel free to ask, and we will address those as we go through this presentation. One word of warning is that this presentation is about assistive technology for eating and medication management. And you should consult a professional like a speech language pathologist or an occupational therapist for advice on consumption of foods or liquids for the safety of yourself and others. We put this out there because we are presenting the tools. I am not a speech language pathologist. I do not know anything about swallowing or swallow studies. I am just here to present the solutions to actually get the food again from your plate to your face. So that is just something to be aware of. So things to consider when we are eating. So location, where is the person sitting? Where is the food sitting? What room are they in, or are you in when you're eating? So that's important. If you have somebody who does have trouble, maybe with range of motion or with tremors, if you can raise the plate up, if you can have it sitting in the right position. Some people who have cognitive or intellectual disabilities, sometimes they have trouble with actually viewing the plate. I worked with a gentleman who, it was a couple, and the gentleman had had a stroke. And what the wife learned was that he couldn't see the upper left quadrant of his plate. And so if there was something he didn't want to eat, he would rotate the plate so that it was in that area that he didn't perceive. So that's something to be aware of. The position of the person, of the table, of the dinnerware, making sure that a person can reach their fork or their spoon. Again, looking at the height of where the plate is sitting, looking at, is the person sitting upright? Are they slumped over? Because that could cause some barriers. What supports does the individual want to use? Do they want to use a personal care attendant or a family member, or do they want to use assistive technology to try to do things on their own? And then again, the food. So the food, the type of food will determine the type of AT that a person needs. So do you need an adapted spoon, a knife, something that you can grip? Do you need a plate that doesn't slide across the table? So a lot of these considerations go into determining what the supports a person is going to use. So the question here, and we have a cloche, little thing sitting over the plate with a question mark on it, and it's, high, medium, or low tech. And again, that goes back to what is the person, what are they trying to eat? How are they trying to eat it? And then what is the budget of the individual, and what financial supports do they have to get the right solutions? So sometimes that's determined by budget. Sometimes we have to get creative when we're looking at a solution. So keeping that in mind, when we look at these high, medium, and low tech solutions, I often say that the price tag corresponds to that category. So higher tech solutions are going to be more expensive. We'll find out just how much more expensive in the coming slides. And then low tech is going to be your least expensive solution. So we're going to move ahead. So some considerations for placement. As I mentioned, is the table high enough? What does the lighting look like? Is there a lot of glare that's happening with the individual? Is the light shining in their face? Can they see the plate? Does the plate or bowl, does it need to be elevated? Body position. And then again, is there room for an aid? Sometimes when you're in a work environment, looking at the break room, looking at where a person is going to be taking their lunch or breakfast. You want to make sure that if a person does use an aid, that there is sufficient room for another person. All right, so some low-tech solutions or eating independently, and these kind of title slides here, they all look the same. So they've got 4 images at the top. In the upper left, you've got a touch screen and the word accessibility is lit up. Right beside that, to the right of that, is Tech Tower. That is one of the buildings here at Georgia Tech. To the right of that is a gentleman using a tablet device, using headphones, and then you have a person in a manual wheelchair sitting at a desk. So no to low tech solutions. So we're going to look at a few different categories here. We're going to look at flatware, at dinnerware, preparation tools, and glassware or solutions for drinking. So flatware, I'd have 4 images here on the screen. In the upper left-hand corner, we have an adjustable fork. So this is a device where the grip is a little bit bigger, and then you can actually twist and move the prongs of the fork, or the actual part that scoops up the food. You can adjust it to an angle that is comfortable for the individual. Sometimes it's just the simplest of things. Seemingly simple. It's, you know, getting the angle of your flatware. My boss worked with a nursing home because they had contacted us saying that, well, you know, some of our residents just aren't eating. They're, you know, the food sits in front of them, they don't eat, and we're worried about malnourishment. And so she's looking at some folks and she just goes around and starts bending the forks. And they're like, what are you doing? She's like, well, the person, they don't have range of motion. They can't get the food there. It's falling off. So angling a fork helped. And then after that, the people that had the right solution were able to eat. In the upper right-hand corner, we have a spoon, and this has a counterweight on it. So this is a spoon meant for people that, again, have maybe a range of motion, or they have trouble with stabilizing a spoon. So when you grip the spoon, if you twist your hand down, that the spoon part will actually stay level so that you can get the spoon to your mouth and the food doesn't fall off. So this, it has both a hand grip and it has that counterweight that keeps the spoon level. It's a pretty neat device. Again, it's a low-tech solution. It's something that's more affordable, and we're going to look at a higher tech version of that a little bit later. But this is, again, it's something that's great just to keep the food stabilized and to help a person get it to their mouth. In the lower left-hand corner, we have I gotta zoom in here. We have an eating device. So it's a kind of like a spoon where you can scoop things up with, but it has a metal handle that provides a little bit of a grip to it. And then the tip is silicone. And so this is meant for someone who may hit their teeth when they go to eat. So that silicone allows you to scoop up the food, but if you hit your teeth as you're eating, it won't do any damage. In the lower right-hand corner, we have an accessible knife. So it's like a butter knife, and it's got a wider grip. It's rubberized. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting the grip wider for a person to eat. One of my favorite no-tech solutions for eating is if somebody has maybe arthritis, you can take a tennis ball and you poke holes on both ends of it, and then you slip that spoon or that fork through it, and that widens the grip so that it's more comfortable to eat with. Oftentimes, if somebody does have some trouble with dexterity, or if they do have something like arthritis that impacts their ability to grip, those kind of solutions can really make a difference. So drinking options, getting liquids, staying hydrated, that is really important. So again, we have 4 images here of different solutions. In the upper left-hand corner, we have a Yeti cup. that could hold wine, it could hold coffee, it could hold whatever you want it to hold in it. But that is something where if you need the temperature to be a little more stable, that will help keep things, cool things cold and hot things hot, so that if you are going to be sipping on that throughout the afternoon, you don't have to worry about something being too warm. This is great. I've had a number of people that I worked with who have attendants, and they're like, well, my morning attendant can now make my drink, and I don't have to worry about it getting hot or spoiling before the next attendant arrives in the evening. So a good solution for folks. In the upper right-hand corner, we have a tip-proof mug. So the way this works is it uses suction. So when you set the drink down on the table or the flat surface, it creates a suction so that if you maybe have a tremor and you hit the cup, it won't knock it over. But when you lift it up directly, straight up, it releases that suction. It doesn't create any kind of pressure as you're trying to get it up. So that has worked for a lot of folks. In the lower left-hand corner, we have the nosy cup. So this is for people who, again, it could be range of motion. So you can hold the cup, and it's got a little cutout so that your nose can go in that indentation. So it helps with a person just ingesting the liquid without having to move the neck or the head. And then in the lower left-hand corner, we just have a large cup with 3 kind of big grip handles on it, so that a person has freedom to choose what position they're going to hold that cup in to drink their liquid. So the great straw debate. This is something that a debate, an argument with some people that has raged within the disability community and the community of people that are looking at the environmental impact of these solutions. I'm sure we all know that straws are an important tool for people to drink, and they're needed. And there's a lot of options that are out there for people. So a reusable straw, maybe what you need. I have a coworker who keeps those on her all the time because not every place has them. On here, we have two pictures that have some different straw options. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you've got a paper straw, you have a reusable plastic straw, and then you have a disposable plastic straw. And then on the right-hand side, there is a device, and this is called the Flexi Mug. So this is something my coworker Liz uses. She has spinal muscular atrophy. So it impacts her ability to eat and drink. So she has one of these Flexi mugs attached to the back of her chair, and the straw actually comes around and sits just off to the side of her mouth, so that she can have a sip of water whenever she wants, or in the mornings when she's having her coffee. She can have her coffee whenever she wants without having to get her attendant to come and help her have a sip. So it helps her stay hydrated, it helps her stay healthy, and it gives her just more independence. So some dinnerware solutions that are up here. So we have in the upper left-hand corner, there's again 4 images. Upper left-hand corner, you have a red plate that has a large lip on it. So this is great for people who need to stabilize that spoon or fork before they bring it to their face. Maybe they need to scrape off some of the food. It helps the food from falling off the edge of the plate. Remember one of those considerations I talked about, I don't know if I mentioned it, but color can actually play a big impact on a person's desire to eat. So when we look at dinnerware solutions, brighter, vibrant colors tend to encourage people to eat more. Whereas white, gray, kind of dull colors, a person eats less. And there have been studies that show that a person does eat more on colorful dinnerware, which is good to know. It's something to consider when maybe you're working with somebody and they're just not eating that much. Switch up the color of their plate and see if that makes a difference. So keeping that in mind. In the upper right hand corner of the image here, we have the Freedom Dinnerware. So again, this has compartments to keep food separate, because sometimes it's a texture thing, sometimes it's flavors mixing that a person won't want to eat if they have that kind of cross-contamination. These plates also have a silicone mat on the bottom to keep the plate stable. So again, if a person maybe has a tremor, or if they have a spasm, it'll help keep that plate stable while they're eating. And again, it also has a rim around the edge to keep food from sliding off, or to allow a person to scrape off some of the excess food. In the lower left-hand corner, we have I actually forgot what the name of this bowl is, but it's a silicone bowl, and it's all one piece. It's one molded piece of silicone, and it has a space for the bowl for the food to sit in. But it also, just like with the Freedom Dinnerware, it helps with stabilizing the plate. It's soft, so if a person, maybe if they're going to be leaning down to eat something, they don't have to worry about chipping a tooth or hurting themselves if they hit the edge of the plate. And then in the right-hand corner, we just have a clear plate, and there's a plate guard that's on there. So it's just a semicircular piece of metal that attaches to the plate, and it works just like the options above it, where it allows a person to not knock the food off of the plate as they're eating. So tools for preparation, when we look at actually making food, because we like to cook, right? People with disabilities sometimes like to cook. So looking at the right solution in the upper left, we've got silicone pads for opening jars and other items. They're different sizes. They're pretty colorful to see, creates some high contrast. In the right, we have a mandolin, so you can slice vegetables uniformly without cutting yourself. There's a little guard that you hold on to that the food attaches to, so that you can cut up cucumbers. They are actually cutting cucumbers in this picture. Cucumbers or carrots or whatever vegetable you're looking at. The lower left-hand corner is a slap chop. And then you push the top. So some of these items are not specifically designed for people with disabilities. You're looking at more of a universal design approach, but it's things that the most people possible are able to use. So that, that slap chop, the slap chopper, is something that, you can get that at Target. You can get that mandolin at Walmart or whatever store that you're near. Now, in the lower right-hand corner, we do have something that is specific to a specific accessibility tool, and it's a boil alert. So this picture, you have a pot of water, and then there's a small glass disc that is sitting in the pot. And this, what happens is when the water starts to boil, when you get like a rolling boil, that glass sphere, a glass disc, will kind of dance along the bottom of the pot, and it'll make a noise, so that you have an auditory alert for when the water is boiling. And we've used this with people that are blind, but we've also used this successfully with people with developmental disabilities. We were working with the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, and we found that people with developmental and intellectual disabilities found this useful, because it gives you just another input of when the water is ready. So if you're making your ramen noodles, or if you're making pasta, when the water has started to boil.
Hey, Danny, this is Kim. Yeah. Again, I have a question coming from April. April, not April, the organization, but April. Are all of these items dishwasher safe?
The items on this slide, yes. The silicone mats can be put in the dishwasher. That chopper, the mandolin can be disassembled and put in the dishwasher, yes. Mm-hmm. So organization and identification solutions, that's important because we want to, not only we want to be able to cook, but we want to be able to find all of the materials and the ingredients that we're going to be using and to measure them out. In the upper left-hand corner, we have a set of storage containers, and I love these containers because they're really easy to use for people that have issues with the fine dexterity. So with these, when you put the lid on, you just have to put a little bit of pressure on the top and it seals. When you want to remove the lid, you just have to be able to hit the center of it. So if you don't have a lot of motor control, you just hit it and then you can knock the top off and scoop out the ingredients that you need. In the upper right-hand corner, it's just a bottle of wine that has Braille on it. So choosing wine with Braille labels or making your own Braille labels to put on so that you know the difference between your whites and your reds when you're cooking or just when you're having a drink for fun. That's important. In the lower left-hand corner, we have an adjustable measuring cup. And this is a pretty cool device. It uses a plunger system so that you pull the top of the measuring cup down to be the level that you need. So if you need like 2 cups or 3/4 of a cup, you adjust that beforehand, and then you just pour your liquid in, and it's kind of pre-measured. In a similar fashion, to the right of that, we have these adjustable measuring spoons. So rather than having 5 or 6 measuring spoons, you just have one, and it's got an adjustment so that you can get a tablespoon, a teaspoon, whatever the measurement is that you need. So you adjust it ahead of time, and you don't have to fumble with multiple measuring spoons. So it makes things a little easier and a little more accessible. And those can be adjusted for individual use. So next, we're going to look at some medium tech solutions, and I have a subtitle here that just says eating facilitated with a battery. So when we look at low, medium, and high tech solutions, when we get to medium tech, that's when usually there's a power source that's needed. So this slide here, useful kitchen items, we have 4 images. In the upper left, this is a measuring cup that I fell in love with once we got it at work. With this, it can do, it's a measuring cup, it's green, and it has a speaker on it. So that when you are measuring out, whether you're measuring for volume, for weight, or for density, it will announce the measurements. So if you're pouring in 1 cup or 1.5 cups, once you've hit that mark, it will announce that out loud. It's a pretty neat device. And it's something that, again, it's useful not just for somebody who has a visual disability, but for anybody with a print-related disability, or maybe somebody that just needs that extra input. In the upper right-hand corner, I included this image. I joke with some of my friends in the National Federation of the Blind. So this is a device for helping you identify the liquid level. I joke that I have a finger that I use rather than a device that I bought. But we have some people that are really enamored with this device. They really like it, and they keep it with them all the time. So it's really good for like hot teas or hot coffees if you don't want to burn your finger just a little bit to know when it's coming up to the level. You can use that device.
Dan,
and yes.
Came in from April. Could you say the name of that liquid measuring cup again that states the amount out loud?
Oh, it is, I forget the name of the brand. I have contact information that's coming up at the end. Send me a message and I will make sure that we get you the name of that specific model. But if you Google talking measuring cup, it's one of the first things that come up. But again, I forgot what the name of the brand was. All right, in the lower left-hand corner, we have a device called the Pen Friend. And this is a really neat device. So it's a little handheld device. It's about the size of a pen, hence the name Pen Friend. And with it, you have different labels, and you can record little reminders. You can record, what that cabinet is for. You can record a menu. You can record a recipe on it, so that you can play back. All you have to do is touch the pen to the label, and it will read that out loud. So we have had people that have labeled things like different types of tea, different things that have been canned. So like jars. So labeling your jars so that you know that this is, a pickled beet rather than tomatoes. So it's a neat thing. We have used these around the office as well for people that want to know more information about some of our services. You take the Pen Friend, touch it to the label, and it will read out loud. So again, with that, it's kind of thinking outside the box, making sure that a person has the ability to access their kitchen independently and that they can organize it the way they want. And then in the lower right-hand corner, we just have an automated jar opener. So this is a battery-powered device where you set it over top of the jar, you adjust that grip, and then it will automatically rotate to take the lid off. So again, for people with a weaker grip or with those fine dexterity barriers. All right, so next is high-tech solutions. So I say futuristic accessibility. These are some pretty cool devices, but again, when we think about those price tags, sometimes the high-tech solutions can pose a barrier for people. So I want to talk about automatic feeders first. And so this allows a person to eat with minimal setup from an assistant. The devices can be very expensive, and we'll see the prices soon. They do allow for a more conversational meal, so a person can choose when they're going to eat and what they're going to eat while having a conversation with friends or with their attendants. And it puts the person with a disability in the driver's seat. So that way you can always, again, choose what you're going to eat, in what order, and how much of it. So the first option here, this is called the Bestic Feeder, and there's an image of it off to the right. So it's a white device, and it has a base with a robotic arm that's holding a spoon. And then the spoon is sitting on top of a ceramic plate that has a lip on it. So this device, it weighs 4.4 pounds, and it can be calibrated for an individual. It is registered with the FDA, so it's gone through some of those approval processes for safety and for use. And it's switch controlled. So the way it works is you have a controller or a switch, and you can actually move that arm around the plate and scoop up the item that you want. So there's a couple of different ways of using it. You can just use a pressure switch or a trigger switch to, each time you press it, it's going to do a different motion. Or it also comes with just a little controller it's a large controller that a person can move around to manipulate that arm. And then when you're ready to eat, you press another switch and it raises the food up and you lean forward to eat. So it's an interesting device. It's a $3,900 device, but a person really does need to have some trunk control. They have to be able to lean forward to get the food off of the spoon. So it doesn't move forward, it just kind of goes up, and then a person leans in to get the food. It's a good device. A lot of people have used it successfully. I am not one of those people that have used it successfully. I've tried this. We would put, candies in the plate, and I was never able to successfully scoop anything up. But I have seen people use this device to great success, and they really like it. The other option is called the OB feeder. So again, this is another device. It's a robotic arm that's attached to a base. And instead of just a large plate, this one has a plate with 4 compartments, and each compartment has a little semi-dome, a little lip on it. So this has multi-directional capabilities. So this one you can actually adjust to how a person sits. So if a person can't sit up straight, if they have to lean over, you can actually adjust this so that the spoon will come to the person's mouth. So you would basically just calibrate it when you're ready to use it for where that person is sitting and what position they're in. And just like with the Bestic feeder, you have switches that you control it with. So with it, it's a little easier to use than the Bestic, because that spoon will go to the 4 positions on that plate to scoop up the item. The neat thing is you can also wipe food off the spoon. So, if you really didn't want that, pureed carrot, you can have the robotic arm dump the food. It will scrape off the spoon, and then you can go to your next selection. So it's pretty neat. It's very easy to reposition. You get 4 hours of eating time out of it, out of each use. And that tends to last people multiple days. And then the price of this one is a shocking $5,950. This is the highest tech feeder that I've encountered. It's one that I have used. And again, unlike the Bestic feeder, I was actually able to get food to my face with this device. With both of these devices, you can try to go through private insurance to get it. You can also petition for Medicaid or Medicare to cover it. There are some states where you can get a reimbursement for part of it. If you're a veteran, the VA does cover the OB feeder specifically. I do not know about the Bestic. So there are some funding options that can help with acquiring that, but it's at the end of the day, it is a $6,000 device, and a lot of folks are going to need financial support to get that. So you can, again, petition your insurance provider. Some of them have covered it, or they've covered part of the cost. So it's just one of those things where you really have to be determined and persistent when you're looking at getting financial support for that device.
Danny, this is Kim.
Yes.
I have one comment that an individual was able to get his waiver to cover it, but his mom had to advocate for that.
Yes.
I have a question coming from Alan Cruz. It says, do you recommend people to use the Pen Friend to label medications? And then from Ruth, any suggestions, guidance for getting ATs that may not be considered durable medical equipment covered through insurances? When you say petition for Medicare to cover it, can you elaborate on this petition process? Any idea of Medi-Cal, Opti coverage for ATs, assistive technologies, and DMEs, durable medical equipment, and how to successfully attain coverage? I know that was a long one, so I guess the first one was, do people use Pen Friend to label medications? Do you recommend that? And then the assistive technology piece.
Yeah, the Pen Friend is definitely a solution. And we're going to cover a different solution for identifying medications towards the end of this presentation. But it is definitely something that you can use. You can put it on the medication bottle, and then, that way a person just has to touch that pen to the bottle and it will read it out. So you can definitely do that. And you can record, you can actually record, I think, up to an hour per label. So you can put the medication, the dosage, the strength of the medication. You can put a lot of information on that label. So that is definitely a solution. And that second question, when it comes to petitioning Medicaid or Medicare to cover it, it's different for every state. I would recommend contacting your protection and advocacy service. Each state has one, and they may be able to help you with working through that process and identifying what it may be for your state. You can also contact your Center for Independent Living and see if they may have some resources or someone who has gone through that process. So it's so tricky when you talk about trying to get, especially with Medicare, covered, because every state is so different into what they'll cover. The waiver programs are different into what they cover. So oftentimes your protection and advocacy program will have resources for that. Like in Georgia, ours is called the Georgia Advocacy Office, and they've helped people with kind of navigating that very complex system of Medicaid and insurance. You can also look at talking to your primary care physician. It may require a prescription if you're going to get insurance to cover it. For things that aren't considered durable medical equipment, again, I would recommend contacting your Assistive Technology Act program because they may know of resources. There are alternative financing programs throughout the country that can sometimes help an individual with a disability with financing things like that.
Danny,
So there are, yes.
I just want to note that you have about 9 minutes.
Thank you. All right, so high-tech flatware. So we've talked about automatic feeders. These are handheld devices. These are 2 items from the company Liftware, which Google now owns. So on the left-hand side, you have the spoon for trimmers. So this is meant for people that have a specific trimmer, and it helps stabilize the spoon. It reduces the motion by up to 70% to get food, again, from the plate to your mouth. And then on the right-hand side is the Liftware Steady spoon. So it works similar to that low-tech device, that spoon that I showed earlier that had the counterweight on it. This calibrates to a person's movement so that when your hand moves down, the spoon will stay steady. And both of these run about $250, which is, I know, a lot for a spoon, but it could mean the difference between a person eating and not getting any kind of nourishment. So we're going to wrap up things by talking about medication management. I put these 2 topics together because oftentimes you're going to need to eat to take your medicine, or maybe there's a restriction for food. So these kind of go hand in hand when we look at managing medication. So it's important to be able to manage your medication to safely live independently. It can help prevent institutionalization. So if a person can manage their medication schedule, it puts them on a path to somebody trying to restrict their freedoms. And it's also life-saving, literally. Determining what medication you need to take or knowing your schedule is important. And again, it's coupled in this presentation because of some of the food requirements that go hand in hand. So some portable and inexpensive solutions. We're going to look at those low-tech solutions. 4 images, upper left-hand corner, we have just a weekly pill box, and it's got Braille on it for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, right? In the upper right-hand corner, we just have a small pill box. I actually literally have this one that I keep in my bag with some over-the-counter medications. It's got compartments that you can store medications in. In the lower left-hand corner, it's again another pill organizer, but it has, this one is for just one day, and it has compartments for noon, morning, evening, and bedtime. And then sometimes with liquid medications, just a syringe can help with measuring out, a teaspoon, whatever that liquid is. It can make sure that you're going to be able to get it, and you can, inject it into your mouth so that you don't have to worry about, the spoon, the liquid spilling out of the spoon, or maybe if you have a trimmer, losing it that way. So a little reminder, this slide says a little reminder goes a long way. And again, it has some more 4 images of different medication management. So in the upper left-hand corner is a device that I really like. It is It is an automatic pill dispenser. You can set, I think, up to 6 different dispensations per day. So when it's time to take your medicine, it'll send out an audible alert, and then that alarm will keep beeping until you physically pick up the device and flip it upside down to get your medication. So it's something that is persistent to annoy a person into taking their medicine, or to just capturing their attention to take it. In the right-hand corner is a small pill box, similar to the one we saw earlier that has morning, noon, and night and evening compartments, but it has a built-in alarm, a digital alarm that'll go off. In the lower left-hand corner is the Med Center system. So this has a little tube for every day with morning, noon, evening, and night medications on it. And it has an alarm on it as well. So you can set that to go off throughout the day to just remind you to take your medication. If you're going to be going on the go, you can just grab your pill organizer for the day and head out the door. And then in the lower right-hand corner is it's an Apple Watch because it has alerts and reminders that you can set to take your medications, and you will get an audible, a visual, and a tactile alert. So it'll give you a little tap on the wrist and play an alarm for when it's time to take your medications. So some no-tech solutions that you can use for managing your medication are just a visual medication schedule. In the upper left-hand corner, we just have a chart that you could put on the refrigerator or on the door that will let you know what the name of the medication is, the dosage, when you're supposed to take it, with or without food, what the medication is for, when you started it, and who the doctor and the side effects are. So that's just a way of reinforcing the information so that you can refer to that. In the upper right-hand corner, we have the pill pack. So you can order those through your pharmacy, and it'll come with dosed out packets that you can put in your bag or your pocket to go. In the lower left-hand corner, we have the pill card. So this is very similar to the item above it, but it's a little more visual. So with this is great for people with intellectual disabilities that are managing their medication, because you can put graphics in it on, when they're supposed to take the food or when they're supposed to take the medication and how much of it, and with or without food. So just a pretty good solution. And then finally, in the lower right-hand corner, there's just a dry erase board of, did I take my medication? So this is something that can be posted where the medication usually lives, so that you can just mark, yes, I took my AM medication, or yes, I took my PM medication, so that it reinforces that schedule. And then finally, a high-tech solution for medication management is called the Hero. So with this, it can hold up to 10 different medications. It can dispense multiple times per day. You have a connected app that goes with it that will give you your reminders. So when it's time to take your medication, the little ring will light up orange, and it will beep to let you know that it's time to take your medication. If you do not go and take your medication, it will send you a push notification to your phone. You can also set up a caregiver to get a phone call. So if you're supporting someone who may have trouble with remembering to take their medications, it'll actually give a call, an automated call, to the person that you determine to get that. So it's another way of just getting that extra support. And then the device itself is it's kind of a large device. It's got a red ring on the front and a little container to hold a cup. And it's got a digital display on it. It's very easy to load the medications into it. And you can actually be very specific with the medication. So you can do on-demand medications. So if you need like a Tylenol throughout the day, that can be loaded into that, and then it can dispense it as needed. Whereas your more complicated medications would be dispensed on the schedule of when you're supposed to take them. And with 2 minutes to go, if anybody has any questions, comments, quips, queries, quandaries. I am happy to answer anything in our last couple of minutes together. I know we went over a lot of solutions in a very short amount of time. I am happy to answer any questions. Afterwards, you can send me an email or you can give me a call, and I'm happy to work through some of those solutions.
No,
this slide.
Danny,
Yep.
Rick asks, what is the cost of the last med reminder device?
Yeah, that last device, the Hero system, and I'll go back to that slide. I think that clocks in at around $3,000, but it's another one of those where some people have gotten insurance to cover it. And if you go to the Hero medication dispenser website, there are some resource pages for getting that covered through insurance or through some other means. I think that they can even finance the device as well.
All right, Danny, that's all the time we have for questions. And again, make sure that you reach out to Danny if you have any more comments or questions. I want to remind everyone to fill out the evaluation form at the end of this, and all of your classes or workshops that you've attended throughout April. Your input is so valuable, not only to April, but to the presenters to help improve or see what's going great or what needs to be fine-tuned. Danny, what a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for the information, a lot of information there. But information. So thank you again for presenting at April. Everybody have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.